Hi guys, today we're going to read Chapter 11 from Gooseberry Park by Cynthia Rylant. Chapter 11, Guests. Later that morning, Murray rubbed his eyes, stretched his wings, and gave a giant yawn. Top, Bottom, and Sparrow were all sleeping soundly against him, and Kona was coming down the stairs. Murray grinned and waved at the dog. "Say, Kona, what's for breakfast?" "Breakfast," said the dog. "You want breakfast?" Murray nodded. "Murray, when I got back from Gooseberry Park this morning at 6, you ate a whole bag of Fritos, a box of Ritz crackers, a 16-ounce package of provolone cheese, and an orange." "I ate an orange?" Murray asked. "It's only 10. How in the world can you still be hungry?" said the dog. "I never eat oranges," Murray said. "How can you even move?" Kona asked. "They make me break out," said the bat. Murray looked down at the pile of sleeping babies. "Hi, gang," he said. "Want a Pop-Tart?" "Just wait here," said Kona. "I'll bring something down soon. The pudding cup seemed to be all right for the babies last night, so I'll try to steal another one for them. But you have to stay here and keep quiet, Murray. We can't let Professor Albert find you." "Sure," answered Murray cheerfully. "No problem. But what are the chances of me getting a Mars bar?" "Just stay," said Kona, disappearing back up the stairs. Murray sighed. He looked all around the basement. Pipes, wires, what to do? Suddenly, the sound of a television show came drifting down. "Jeopardy!" cried Murray. "My favorite!" He jumped out of the box, ready to dash upstairs, and then he remembered Kona's instruction. Stay. Murray walked in circles around and around the box, hearing the familiar theme song float down from above. "Oh, oh, oh, oh," said Murray, trying hard to stay, trying really hard to stay. "But Alex Trebek is my idol," he wailed, and flum, 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 he was on his way. The basement steps led to the kitchen. Murray flew in and, hiding inside a china cabinet, poked his head out and looked towards the living room. Professor Albert was watching television and eating a Danish. Kona sat beside him, looking rather impatient and glancing often toward the basement. Kona didn't see Murray in the cabinet. "And now we'll begin our round of double jeopardy," said Alex Trebek. Murray sighed with pleasure and settled down to watch. And there's Murray, sitting in the china cabinet with the fancy teacups. Soon, however, the sight and smell of Professor Albert's Danish was just too much for the tiny bat. He was hungry and he needed breakfast. Murray's nose went up in the air, sniffing. Said the little bat to himself. "Now, where would a professor keep a Danish?" He flew to the top of the cabinet and looked out over the confusion of Professor Albert's kitchen counters. A bottle of vitamin C, a bottle of vitamin A, bottle of vitamin E. "Gee, I'm watering at the mouth." His eyes searched a different counter. Wheat germ, olive oil, soybean curd. Oh, gross. Maple granola, Oreos, lima beans. Oreos! Murray jumped so hard he hit his head on the ceiling. Thump. In the living room, Kona pricked up his ears. The dog looked toward the kitchen and saw Murray hopping up and down on top of the china cabinet, waving to him and pointing to something below. Kona nearly fainted, and then he shook his head fiercely at Murray. The bat mouthed some words to him. Creamy center was all Kona could make out. The Labrador frowned and firmly shook his head again. He had to wait for Professor Albert to take a morning nap before carrying any more food to the basement. The professor would likely be home all day with the ice outside still so thick. They were lucky to even have the electricity back on. And Murray was supposed to be staying in the basement, but there he was, bouncing like a ball on the china cabinet. Murray had to behave. Kona vigorously shook his head at the bat again. "A flea, Kona?" the professor asked, putting down his Danish and rubbing Kona's ears. "No, just a pest," the Labrador said to himself. Back in the kitchen, Murray threw up his wings in exasperation. A whole bag of Oreos in the kitchen, and the dog only wants his ears scratched? Domestic animals. Who can figure them? Flum, Murray dropped down to the kitchen counter. Just then, Professor Albert rose and said something about needing more butter. Uh-oh, said Murray, who was just getting to his first creamy center. Professor Albert started for the kitchen. Double uh-oh, Murray said again, stuffing the Oreo in his mouth and looking for a place to hide. The professor took a few more steps toward the kitchen, but before he could get there, crash! What? The professor spun around. On the living room floor lay Professor Albert's Chinese ginger jar lamp, and it lay in 100 pieces. Kona sat very still and wagged his tail, just a little bit. Murray seized his opportunity. The cookie still in his mouth, he grabbed 2 more with his feet and flew down the basement steps. And there's a picture of Murray with his Oreos. Back in the living room, Professor Albert was saying that he didn't understand how a lamp could just knock itself off a table, and why did he keep thinking he heard a bird in the house? And really, weren't the past 24 hours the strangest anyone had ever seen? Kona, glancing over at the sleeping Gwendolyn, tried to wipe the guilty look off his face. He could not have agreed any more with the old professor. All right, tomorrow we shall start chapter 12. See you then.